Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Soccer for Us. We are on the very eve of the 2022 FIFA World Cup. US is at match day -1 at this point that you're probably listening to this. The World Cup is about to start with Qatar and Ecuador kicking off. And we have some thoughts about the US men's team and this tournament as a whole. And to talk about those thoughts, we are welcoming back to the podcast U.S. keeper, or Thomas, if you know him by name. Keith, how are you feeling about the fact that the United States plays a World Cup match in, as of we're recording, 36 hours?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I mean, it's been a long time coming, from myself, and I'm sure many fans to get this underway. It's going to come quickly, and there's not a lot of time between matches, as you might see in past World Cups. So this is gonna move very quickly along, and so it's exciting. Optimistic of a good start and strong finish. So.
Well, I feel like the buildup has moved very quickly, and there really wasn't much of a buildup. Obviously, we had last week talking about club soccer. We still have women's leagues going on right now that were pretty important. With you had multiple women's leagues playing today and tomorrow on Sunday. We're still in the throes of club soccer. Yeah, we're gonna have this World Cup, the pinnacle of what this sport is meant to be. I mean, do you just feel like this? We as fans have kind of been cheated the ability to savor what is about to unfold at this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought it for a while, and I've been very candid about it. Part of the experience is the build up to it, is the send off series, are the matches leading up to that, seeing what the team is doing well, looking at their performances, in those generally three friendlies leading up to the World Cup, because that's structured in a way that the group stage is, in terms of days between matches and recovery and that sort of thing. And that's kind of important. I mean, they have 9 or 10 days, to kind of get, acclimated, but that's not the flow of it. This is this is the biggest sporting event in the world, and to not have that normal cadence of build up, I think it's going to be impactful, and I think you actually might see it impact some of the teams. I don't know if we're going to see more or less scoring as a result of it, but I think you're going to see that the veteran teams, out there, I think they're going to flourish a little bit more, and so you can't cut off guard, and start off slowly, because if you do, it's gonna you're gonna be it's going home, early next week. I mean, early
That almost
in a week.
Yeah, that almost feels like a hint at predictions you might have for this tournament. I mean, it just sucks that I think the biggest thing that sucks for me, and is obviously affected the U.S. men's team, but it's affecting other teams, is that little injuries are keeping players out of the World Cup, right? Like a guy picks up an injury a week or two before the World Cup, and he just can't come back in time, little hamstring or ankle injuries. And that, to me, we talk about the tournament itself, right? Part that sucks, because you want to see the best players in the world compete at the best sporting event in the world. I mean, obviously not all of them qualified. I mean, but we heard today that Karim Benzema from France is not going to be there. And it's just it sucks that guys like that, specifically Benzema, who's waited a long time for this opportunity, but guys like that who are just such great players aren't going to be part of this because of a little injury that really, probably in the grand scheme of things, would have kept them out for 2 weeks. But that's basically the whole World Cup at this point.
Yeah, it's significant. I mean, because everything is escalated a little bit. Like they're having 4 matches a day pretty much for the first 2 groups, and that's not typical. Normally you might see 1 or 2 days with 4 matches, but it's typically 3 matches.
Yeah, the 4 match days are like the final match day of the group, where you play 2 groups at a time, or 2 matches at a time per group, but not like this. I mean, the U.S. and Wales at 10 p.m. local time. 10 p.m. Luckily here in the States, it's a 2:00 kickoff Eastern. I know for you and I, that's nice, but 10 p.m. is late for those teams to get ready. I mean, do you think all of our matches, to be fair, kick off 10 p.m. local? Do you think that will affect the play? I mean, we're going to have a lot of 10 p.m. kickoffs. Do you think that'll have any effect on what we see? I mean, we kind of thought when MLS's back tournaments were playing that those early morning games are really kind of boring. I'm wondering how that'll be at 10 p.m.
I think they've had enough time to acclimate. They didn't have the travel was not impactful for most of this group, and a lot of people that the MLS contingency that came from the states,
Yeah,
they had a couple extra days ahead of time to kind of adjust to the time difference. But I think the European players, I think they're going to adjust fine. I think they're probably basing their practices and in training around those kickoff times because I think they'll continue
yeah,
into the knockout stage at that point because they want they want the most viewership. That's what it comes down to, and so selfishly, I'm okay with like 2 o'clock. I mean, I'm going to watch every match
oh
that's on. I mean,
yeah,
it's 5 a.m. for Eastern time. I'm fine with that. I'll be up watching those. So
yeah,
that's nothing, for me to wait.
yeah. It
Those.
does say a lot that I think the U.S. got very preferential treatment in all of their time slots. And we even saw it with the U.S. women next summer. They got two, what amounts to 9 p.m. kickoffs here, which are about the best time slot we could have got with that tournament. So it's very clear that the U.S. media market is very important to FIFA. Otherwise, they wouldn't be giving us these kickoff times.
Oh, it's massive. I mean, the people that are going to be. I mean, these games that are going to be highly watched. I mean, I can't wait to see what the numbers are.
Well, I think we do need to talk a little bit about some of the negative stuff going around this tournament. I mean, I think from the get go, we knew that this was a shady tournament, that it was won with very um, underhanded and pretty much unethical dealings. But as the tournament just keeps coming, there just seems to be blow after blow to what is supposed to be a global celebration of the best of humanity. And we found out 2 days ago that um, beer and alcohol won't be sold to the general public anyway inside the stadiums. And you can only do that in certain designated fan zones and, not even anywhere in public outside of that, which, we knew going in was going to be a little bit of a problem for the Qatari government. But you hear about that. You hear reports of a U.S. media member not being able to wear just a plain old rainbow mask. It didn't say anything on it. It was just a mask that happened to be a rainbow, and he was told to take it off. You have Danish media being told to stop recording live on the streets of Qatar, of just a general, just like, hey, we're here type of hit. I think we have to talk about the fact that this is not a good representation of what FIFA should want to be or want this sport to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I just it's the whole thing is just it's crazy to me. We're in a very different time in everywhere, and I think it takes away from the players' experience. To have to answer these questions, to have to speak to these sorts of things. They want to experience the World Cup for what it
Yeah.
is, and these issues there shouldn't be come to any real surprise because we've known it for 7 or 8 years. I mean,
Yeah.
all the stuff that's gone on, and so that we've that we told so and so they're going to control it.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing. And basically FIFA is just saying whatever you want at this point. Cause I mean, you can't do anything at this point. I mean, had been rumors for many
Exactly.
years. Yeah. There've been rumors that, not rumors so much, but speculation that, they could move this, World Cup out of there, several years ago. And they still could have, because you could have just found a nation that had the proper infrastructure and said, all right, it's going to, Portugal and
Honestly,
Spain.
yeah, like that's kind of the thing that we're at right now is like you had your opportunity, FIFA, to correct the problem that you created, right? Like you created all these issues, FIFA, and you had the opportunity. You could have moved it to England or just Great Britain as a whole. I mean, that could have been really cool to see Scotland, England, Wales host a World Cup. You could have done it in Spain. You could have done it in France or Germany. I mean, shit, you could have done it in the United States. I mean, we could have just done it on a whim. Probably Japan could have done it if you wanted to keep it to the Asian Federation. It's just it's such a slap in the face of fans who work hard, fans who work hard to make this sport great. That's kind of where I'm at. Is like FIFA is taking all of us, not just for granted, but taking us out back, and they've looted us, they've lied to us. They don't care for us, is what they're clearly saying. I think with continuing to go down this path with the Qatar World Cup.
Yeah, I found I had to not defend it so much, but like because I love the sport. I love the game. I want to see it. This other stuff here, like some people are like, well, how can you support this? I'm like, I love the game. Like I can't support what they're doing. I had no control over that. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I'm not going to miss out of another World Cup because of this
Right.
situation. It's like, it's very, it's like, there's nothing I can do. I do wonder if the revenues are going to be impacted when we see the final, if they're truly communicated.
Yeah.
I'm curious what those revenues will look like. I mean, I can't remember what the Russian one was, but I mean, it's close to 9 billion, I think.
Yeah.
I think it was somewhere in that area. So I'm very curious to see what those revenues look like for this World Cup. One, because it's in a different time of the year, and two, because of all these other turmoil that we're experiencing, leading up to it, days into it now.
Well, my advice, I think, to fans like you and I who are fans of the sport, love the sport, you're allowed to love this tournament in the fact that it is the World Cup. It is the greatest showcase of our sport. It's the greatest sporting event in the world. It sucks that FIFA has tarnished it so much. And I'm not even like mad at Qatar as like they are who they are. We knew who they were. FIFA is to blame most importantly. But as a fan, enjoy the actual thing happening on the field. You're allowed to do that. Enjoy what's happening on the field. Enjoy the play. Hopefully there is good play. I know the Wales and English teams are, apparently weltering in the heat of the desert, which is kind of fun to watch as always. I love seeing Brits getting worked up over heat, but try to enjoy what's happening on the field. I know that's what we're going to try to do is enjoy what's happening and what we're watching. So with that said, we got games to talk about. We have actual World Cup matches the United States are playing in. It's been 8.5 years since we've been able to watch the U.S. men play in a World Cup. And here we are a day or two away from it. How does that feel like just overall that we've come so far from that?
I mean, I don't know, I'm a fan. It's a rush. It's, what I mean? It's anything that excited you as kids, your birthday, Christmas. And that's what it is. Like, I mean, this is how I started my soccer, fandom. I mean, I was with the 94 World Cup, leading up to it. I mean, I didn't know what I didn't know. I mean, and so that World Cup for me was, I mean, I didn't miss anything of it. It's just, it was everything to me. And it built off that. And it's so, and this has been, there's been other World Cups that aren't as good as others in terms of your team success and, the performance of the tournament in general. But like, I don't know. I'm ready to go, but I'm also, nervous too for my teams. And like it is, I mean, if you're a fan, you very well know the stresses of what a World Cup tournament represents from the intensity. I mean, because I literally in 2014 sat down and Dempsey scores that goal, like that, like, and so like it, I didn't even have time to react. You know what I mean? Like, as because it just happened so quickly. And that's the thing. The players have to be ready for that. They cannot, be, in the moment of, kind of looking around to see what's going on. They really need to be, locked and loaded and ready to perform on the biggest stage in the world. So.
It is the biggest stage in the world, and I'm at the nervous energy stage where I'm nervous because I'm thinking of all the bad things that can happen. Part of that is because I am planning a lot of events and I want everything to go well. And the best case scenario is the United States wins or draws. So for me, the worst case scenario is we don't win. And now I've, planned all these events and nothing happens of it. But it's oh man, I remember the 2014 World Cup so well. I remember 2010 so well. I remember 2006, but like, this is a new level of like, I think engagement almost. Like, I feel like the sport matters more in this country right now. And I'm just so excited. And I really hope this team puts on a good performance in this tournament so that we can continue to build for that 2026 edition where obviously, we're hosting. So this is a springboard, hopefully, of sorts. But let's talk about this team and what we think this team can do. I know we said on the last podcast, we all agreed that look, you got to make it out of the group. I think that's where we are as a footballing nation is we should expect ourselves to make it out of the group. Now that said, this is a really tough group. We have 4 teams in the top 25 in the world. This is a very tough group. It's probably the group of death, I would say, just based on rankings. But overall, outside of just saying, hey, we should get out of the group, what do you think is the most, like, outside of that, what's the most important goal for this team during this tournament?
I mean, I think you're gonna. I mean, you're right. You said earlier that we're building our result on kind of creating and pulling in fans for the one we're going to host it. And so that performance, I can't. It's going to be. It's a different set of eyes. It's not the middle of summer. It's not people. People are have the opportunity to watch these games around the holiday season. You know what I mean? They're going to be out and about. They can catch them early in the morning. They can catch them in the afternoon. So you have an opportunity to watch a lot of soccer at a time of the year that normally is not where we see this tournament taking place. So I think that is so important, for the federation to have a positive results for the U.S. team to be able to play quality soccer, to be able to provide exciting and winning soccer, because they need to do that. This is a tough group. I mean, I've been back and forth debates on this. By the rankings, yes, it's a group of death. I'm not sure. People say it's an easy group. I'm a little skeptical there. I think there's some other groups that are a little bit harder, but I think it's definitely a group that the U.S. can advance through. But they're going to have a little luck, or maybe a lot of luck, and they've got to score goals. They've got to attack and be able to do that. And I'm hoping Greg is going to have a different mentality in terms of what he allows his team to do a little bit. I mean, you've got to go ahead and attack. And so it's going to be interesting to see what he ends up with his lineups. One, because I think a couple players, while they said they were all fit today and all participating in practice today, I still think Dest is not going to be playing a full 90. I think McKennie, I debate whether he should start or not in this, in the first match. He's traditionally come off injury and been very poor on the ball, passing the ball, everything about it. So, he may be a better substitution option later in the match versus tired legs than anything else. But we have 5 subs too, and that's a different dynamic in terms of planning, who's going to be in the game and how you're going to, be able to do that. And I think all the players are available. There's not a limit of players. So the full 15 players, is that what it is, on the bench are all available to be subbed on, which is not
that'll be interesting how that plays out, right? Like, just overall from the tournament, is because the fear when the Premier League allowed 5 subs, like for real 5 subs, not during the COVID times, was, oh, well, this will benefit the better teams. And, like, I think obviously it does, but you can still only use 5 subs, and this is the World Cup. So in theory, everyone's bringing their best players anyway, and you're telling me that somehow Belgium, Spain, France, Brazil weren't already going to be benefited by having the best group of players in the world. You know what I'm saying? So how do we leverage that is kind of the question, because we have really good players. I do think it's important, though, to know, I mean, you mentioned the holiday time. I mean, we have Brazil playing at 2 p.m. on Thanksgiving Thursday, like, that smack dab in between the Lions game and the Cowboys game. I am super curious to see how many people tune into that, because Brazil is a known name in the footballing world. And not just a team that people are fans of, but team that people know. I'm very curious to see how many people tune in for that game, especially it being on, Fox. So.
Yeah, I mean, the football, I mean, it's I haven't looked at the matchups, but I don't think they're very good matchups. I think.
It's Brazil-Serbia, which maybe is
no,
okay,
not that. No, that's a good. No, I meant the football. I mean, the NFL thing, the Lions or whoever, like, they're terrible.
Yeah,
like
the Lions and the Cowboys, yeah.
Right. So I mean, you can catch the Cowboy game after. Like,
exactly,
man. Like,
the Lions game will be a blowout by that time, and you can just tune over to Brazil.
Yeah, Brazil. That's a good matchup. Brazil-Serbia. That's Serbia. Serbia's a kind of surprising team in general. I think Brazil's. I mean, I have an opinion on Brazil, but in terms of how far I think they'll go, so
they're my favorite to win. Literally, I have money on them. So
yeah, I reluctantly would agree. I don't want them to win it, but I think they have the better team. And someone mentioned to me the other day about how France maybe have a little ego challenging
Yeah.
issue there. So.
Here's what I think. My money says Brazil. My heart says Argentina. That's where I am with that.
Yeah, I think I think they'll play with us.
They would. They play in the semifinal.
Yeah.
And looking at their paths to the semifinal, it's not like they would have much resistance getting there. I think one of them may have to play Belgium, but still.
That'd be amazing, though. I mean, just to see that in that arena.
And like, we want to see Messi. I want to see Messi win something. I think this past month has proven that Messi is probably going to have a better legacy on the game than Cristiano Ronaldo. So I would love to see Messi win a World Cup. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, I don't have a problem. I mean, obviously, barring the U.S., which but
I'm not crazy. Let's talk about this U.S. team though, because we know that it's very young. We're not the youngest; we're the second youngest, and there are reasons for that. Ghana has brought 2 backup goalkeepers who are like under the age of 23, and we brought Tim Ream, who's basically the same age as Greg Berhalter. So we obviously our age is skewed a little bit. But it's still a very young team, a very inexperienced yet experienced team. Obviously their inexperience deals with major international tournaments, but they've all been playing club ball for a very long time, and many of them in Europe for a long time. Even guys like Weah and Musa and Reina, who are young, have been playing at very top levels for a long time. What do you think is the one thing this team can do or has that can take them out of this group and maybe farther than just the round of 16? What's that, either that quality or that characteristic that they have?
Yeah, that's a great question. The thing is that when you talk about a young team, which is the starting lineup is going to be something around 24 years of age, I'm guessing, depending on who starts. And obviously that, I think I might include Ream in there. But I think seeing a lot of these players on a consistent basis, playing against the best in the world consistently, I think that gives you a little bit of, just expectation of what it is. I mean, they're going to ramp it up for sure, but this team has, I think it can have a looseness to that. There's an expectation, but there's not like an unreasonable expectation on their shoulders. And I think that's,
yes, 100%. No one's saying go win the World Cup.
Exactly.
So the expectation being, hey, get out of the group. That shouldn't be too heavy of a burden.
Yeah, no, I think that's realistic, and I think they're good enough to beat probably most teams. I don't think they could beat a Brazil even if they played their best and Brazil played their worst. I don't think they could do that, or maybe an Argentina or France. I think you're not going to see that, but I think they could. I could see them beating any team in the other in the Group A, a Netherlands or an Ecuador. I think that's reasonable to see that. I think that if it lines up like it did for England a couple of years ago in Croatia, they had a kind of easy path.
Yeah.
To that semifinal round. Based on how just the chips fell, and compared to the other branch of it. So I think it's a combination of those things in there. They're going to need a little luck. They're going to have things go their way. They can't have a handball in the, like against Germany in 2002 where it doesn't go in. Like that's got to go their way. They've got to get some luck to go their way. And I'm not sure I've seen that in too many World Cups for the United States. They haven't had a whole heck of a lot of luck that ended up them, winning a game as a result of that. They've had some great, results, but not luck per se to kind of catapult
painfully
them.
Valid. The only one I can think of is Portugal in 2002. You kind of had that deflected goal from Donovan, own goal or / his goal, but like even that, it was like we still outplayed them. It wasn't like we got lucky.
Yeah, I mean they let up in the end of that. I mean they gave up 2 goals in this. One at the end of the first.
Let up. You couldn't have let up against that Portugal team. Was very good.
Yeah.
But I would say that Wales needs luck. Iran will need luck. England's going to need a little bit of luck. So 100% we're going to need some luck for things to go really well. But the other teams are also going to have to get lucky. So I think that's just what happens when you have such on paper closely talented teams. I mean, up and down this group, there's guys who are good. There are guys who are probably weaknesses for their team. Not everyone's Harry Maguire and liable to give up an own goal every time the ball is kicked at him. But, we also are not the strongest at every position. So that kind of is my next question is, okay, so on the field, where do you think is our strengths lie?
I mean, I think the midfield is strong. I think the wingers are strong. And I think that's where you've got to allow that creativity. You've got to allow them to be able to be in transition, which they don't do. They want to be in possession, not transition. You can't want to have 70%, having 70% possession and a huge, XG rating doesn't mean anything if you're not scoring goals.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything because you need to win these games. You've got to score goals to win these games. And so Greg's got to get over that. He's got to allow these guys to be a little more creative and a little more dynamic, out there. Because they're too predictable, you know what I mean, at this point. And I don't frankly trust that against these teams. They're playing low block, which, is going to mean there's a lot of counters that come back towards the U.S. And those counters are not where they're a strong suit. And so we've got to work towards the strong suit. I mean, believe it or not, midfield, which has never been a huge strength for the U.S., and wingers, and you've got so many players who can interchange in those positions. So I'm excited about that, but I'm hoping they have the opportunity to be able to find that creativity and be able to, execute that and finish it.
I think your point, I think the wingers are our biggest strength. You look at the three that I think we'll see the most of: Pulisic, Weah, Reyna. Those three guys can beat any defender I think we're facing in this group, to be quite honest. I think our midfield is pretty deep, right? Like, I think our starting three are going to be, even if McKennie doesn't start, right? If it's Aronson who starts against Wales, McKennie coming off the bench is a strength. Luca De La Torre is pretty good. We have some depth that we can bring off the bench. It's not, every single person. But the other place that I feel very confident in is goalkeeper. I feel very confident in Matt Turner, or to be honest, Turner, Johnson, or Horvath. But I think you and I both agree it's Matt Turner who will be starting. I feel confident that he's going to be able to keep us in games and maybe, pull out some saves that are going to give us that momentum to grind out a result. And we're going to need that, especially against a team like Wales that, as you pointed out, don't need a whole lot of opportunities to score. We've seen Gareth Bale score with one shot, and Wales loves a counterattack. Goalkeeper is going to have to come up big and make some saves.
Yeah, I mean, Turner, the goalkeepers are strong. I mean, they're not, I don't think they're not, at their prime for goalkeepers, but I mean, Turner, I'm so happy that he's there and he's healthy because he's just been the best shot stopper, and you need that at this tournament. Yeah. You need to have that. I mean, we've seen it, we saw it with Howard, you've seen it, with Friedel in 2002. I mean, he made some huge saves for the U.S. and you need that. Because you can't rely on any flub ups for the goalkeepers on that. I mean, I'm pray he doesn't have it. I'm a huge fan of his and what he's worked at so hard. Even in the little time he's been in Arsenal. So I want to see some success. From him for sure.
Where do you think our weaknesses are, though?
Central back. I don't know. I'm hoping they're playing a double pivot at the 6 because I think.
For this first game, it makes a lot more sense too, to be honest.
Yeah, I think Adams needs that support a little bit more, and I think with the way they counter, it's going to be interesting because I think it's seeming like Ream's going to start with Zimmerman, and they have not played together. I think I had looked at it. I think they played once, and Zimmerman came in as a sub or something. So there's no real sample size there at all. So.
I don't think there's an official number 2 next to Zimmerman. I think it's Zimmerman, and I don't really know who plays next to him because I think every single guy that could, Kramer Carter-Vickers, Tim Ream, Aaron Long, they all have pros and cons, Yeah,
I don't watch a lot of Fulham, but I'm wondering what Greg is thinking from a Robinson, Ream, partnership too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's something there. I mean, in that too. I mean, there's a consideration for that.
Fulham has been pretty darn okay in the Premier League. You're right.
They really have. I mean, I can't look. I haven't been a huge Ream fan, because Fulham's been jumping up and down for the last couple of years, and Ream hasn't shown well in previous promotion situations. But it's a no-brainer in my opinion that he's there. Whether he starts or not is, I don't, I'm not really sure, but he's earned it. He's he's played great, and I hope he's a sleeper. Like
Yeah.
DeMarcus Beasley in 2014. I ripped that guy left and right. I didn't think he was going to be able to hold his own, in that World Cup, and he was phenomenal. He blew me away. And those sleeper players we're going to need to see some of those guys that our expectations low as fans step up and provide that if they're going to make any sort of run outside of the group stage. Because if they don't, then it's it's going to be 3 and done, and then but you're going to need to see that from a few players in this group.
Yeah, I think my trust issues on this team are who lines up next to Walker Zimmerman, because I just don't know. And if it's Aaron Long, I don't trust him. I don't have enough reason to trust Cameron Carter-Vickers at the international level. And I've been burned by trusting Tim Ream before. So that's where my trust issues lie there. But also, I don't know if I trust Jesus Ferreira to score the goals we need. And I also don't know if I trust Josh Sargent to do it, because we haven't seen him score in a U.S. shirt in forever. And then is Haji Wright capable of doing it as well? I don't know if I trust any of our center forwards to score. I think that goes back to the conversation we had last episode of why Ricardo Pepi isn't here. But, I don't know if I trust the number 2 center back, and I don't know if I trust anyone at the striker position to actually score.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, but I'm not sure if I would trust Pepe either, though, honestly.
I mean, that's a valid point.
I'm not sure. I mean, what's he done that you're going to trust along the way? I mean, if I trust anyone this, personally, I'm biased, but I like Sargent. I think
I'm with you.
If you really watch his play, even when he was in the Premier League last year, he was doing the right things. He just was not getting the service in the proper situations. And mind you, he was playing a lot of winger, and now he's playing striker more, this year with his club. But I think, for me, I think he's the best fit for the system. And I think Ferreira is better off the bench, to support.
I absolutely agree. I don't think I think the thing that bothers me about the Ferreira discourse is people think that we're bashing Ferreira as if he's a bad player. I don't think anyone thinks that Ferreira is bad at soccer. We all kind of see that his qualities are not fit necessarily to be an international striker. He's probably better at doing a lot of other things. But to your point, he's great coming off the bench, especially if it's one of those if you're at that point where Sargent isn't working, maybe Ferreira is the guy to help unlock a Wells defense. He does have that ability. But I don't know if I would start him personally.
Yeah, because that's a great point. Because you watch Sargent, when he's played, he's coming off the bench, and I don't think he's I just don't think he gets going that quickly. And so that's why, I just think that he needs it. He just hasn't had that recent opportunity to start. And I think if he does, I think he's able to get more into the game, give him 60, 65 minutes, whatever it is, at least get some opportunities on there, because he's done great this year for his club. So it'll be interesting to see what Greg does. I'm expecting some surprises. I mean, he surprised us during World Cup qualifying, and I'm hoping he starts with surprises as opposed to you can't play catch up at the World Cup. You've got to start off quickly. I mean, I ran the numbers today because I want to make sure I had them, and I'll share them here about winning. So it's nearly 85% of the teams that win their first World Cup match advance to the knockout round. And that's a massive number, 85%. Yeah. It's crazy. And then nearly 59% of teams that draw in their first match of the World Cup advance to the knockout round. So as fans, we've got to get a result for the U.S. in this first match. You don't get a result. I mean, it's not going to not happen, but you're not in a great position along the way. And the other thing I ran was interesting. And all these stats are since 1998, because that's when we had 32 teams and it was even, and you were just taking the 2 top. I looked to do back further, but it was getting more convoluted because of multiple 3 teams from the groups could get in. But since 98, only 1 team that's had 3 points have advanced out of the group stage, with 52% of teams that have 4 points advancing to the knockout stage. And then everything else is 100%. So if you get 5 points, it's pretty much 100% you're going to advance.
Especially in a group this closely, England is, I think, obviously the best team in this group. But even then, it's I don't think they're far and away better than any of the other 3, right? I don't think that I think Iran, Wales, and the United States can beat England. But I also think we all 3 could beat each other. So I think that, to your point of 4 points sounds like a number that might be the number to strive for, right? Beat Wales or Iran, tie the other one. Who knows what happens against England? I think if you're I feel like if you're a US fan, this sounds like the last thing we want to actually say, but like I feel like you want England to kind of, I don't know, run away with the group, get 9 points, so that you have England and or Wales and Iran with a loss as well. But I don't know. It just
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to be said for, I mean, and so in 2014, and this is, you know, this is an interesting one where I think Germany beat Portugal, what, 4 or 5-0 in that first game. And that set the stage because obviously the US beat Ghana there, and that set the
yeah
stage very well for them because all they had to do, and they should have beat Portugal in game two. I mean, if it wasn't for, I think it was Bradley flub up in the
yeah
middle there. Uh, you know, they just, I mean, because there was the goal differential, even if they won, it wasn't going to be enough.
yeah.
You know, they were so far away from that. And so the way they played against Germany was basically, you know, don't lose by more than a goal. Like
Yeah.
essentially was what Klinsmann was doing there. And
Especially a German team that didn't have to win.
Well, right.
They were already through, so it was nice.
Right. And so that's why that's why this first game is very pivotal to that. You've got you know, you just got to set that stage, you know, for the team too, because I don't know how well they're going to be able to rebound even within the game if things don't go well. Like, I mean, it's a young team. I mean, it's not CONCACAF. It's a World Cup. The environment's different. Everything's different. How they're going to react to either being up early. Because again, when the U.S. got up early against, Ghana in 2014, that wasn't the greatest thing either because it put them in they didn't attack anymore. They kind of were pushing back. So there's something, for as much as I think the U.S. needs to score early in this match so that they can, position themselves, that, you still can't stop attacking. You still can't stop playing your game plan for the most part earlier in the match because you never know what's going to happen later. I mean, you can't rely on a 1-goal win, with in the 70th minute.
No. Let's talk about some quick hits on just general kind of predictions / takes for this tournament for the U.S. Who do you think scores the most goals for the U.S.?
That's I don't know. I was looking at the stats for, and I'm the stat man, but I was looking at some stats on this, and from the easy answer is obviously like one of the big name players, but something about Brendan Aronson for me, and this is going to go to the next question you have. It to me, there's something about him that I just think he's going to have a tournament. I don't know, and maybe it's going to be a complete miss. I don't know, but just the way, I mean, he's so energetic. I mean, I think even coming off the bench, he could provide some great energy. Starting, I think, he's good for, 60 minutes, 70 minutes maybe, and then he needs to come off. But I think he provides so much energy and he can distribute the ball. I mean, I don't know, he's kind of I'm not sure he's going to do that, but I think he's just a sleeper in that respect.
Yeah.
Like, don't sleep on him. Selfishly, I kind of hope it's Pulisic. I'd love to see him kind of get a little bit monkey off his back from 2018, not making the World Cup, and just, he has a lot of pressure on him. If he get a couple early goals in this tournament, I think that would go a long way, for him to kind of get that pressure off him. But it's tough because, I mean, the team doesn't really have that, like, holy cow scorer. I mean, in general, I mean, obviously Pulisic probably has, I don't know the numbers specifically, but I'm sure he has the most goals for the squad, like 21 and 10, I think 21 goals, 10 assists, I think is what I saw recently. So, I mean,
I think I'm going to go out with, I think Pulisic is the most obvious answer. My next answer would be Gio Reyna for two reasons. One, I think we know that he can create goals on his own. But two, I feel like Gio's our best free kick opportunity, right? The guy who, if he lines up for a free kick, is most likely to score, who would be on the field because I think Kellen Costa's there, but like not going to be playing. So I think Gio might score off a free kick, but also might score one or two from live play. Whereas we know Pulisic doesn't really hit free kicks, and yes, he's our penalty kick taker. I don't know how frequently I'm not going to bank on getting penalty kicks in a World Cup. I mean, hopefully we get one or two. That would be awesome. I'll take it. But I'm going with my kind of not Pulisic pick would be Gio Reyna.
Yeah, it's interesting with him. He's amazing. We just haven't seen it consistently.
We haven't seen it.
And so for me, that's where I'm a little hesitant with him. And I hope he can finish this tournament strong and and start his World Cup career
Yeah.
very strong, because he is amazing, and he's, I don't know, just watching him, and he's quite tall. I don't know how tall he is, but he's tall, and he's one of
He's
the
gotten
taller.
like a lot taller and bigger. Homeboy's grown up.
Yeah, for sure. And that's,
That little
and that's
boy's
the thing
grown
with this
up.
group. I mean, these guys are young, and when they first came in, and
I
they're still growing and
They're
developing.
still
So
young. They're still young. They're so little. They're not little, actually. They're big boys. They're gonna handle it. Okay, so we talk goals. Who's gonna get the most assists?
I could see Musa, getting some. I'm gonna go
Interesting.
Tim Weah. I'm gonna go Tim Weah on that, because Tim, I haven't. I was very critical of him for a long time, because the hype on him was huge, and he could never remain healthy. And then when he got out there, the hype lined up with what he was providing, and so I can just see him
Yeah.
putting some crosses in there. Because again, this group has not been fully together. Period.
I
That's the
know.
thing. This group has not fully been together. Maybe twice with Nations League, maybe. I don't even know if there was then, but and so to me, he's great he's the one of the he's a great winger out there, and so it's gonna be interesting to see who ends up starting, because a couple guys are going to be sitting on the bench that could easily be starters. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna go Tim Weah on that one.
I'm going with Tim Weah as well.
Yeah.
The reason I say Weah is because if you look at our goals in qualifying, one, I think he had the most assists in qualifying. But two, a lot of our goals came from crosses from that right side. I think of and even our better chances, right? I think of obviously, was it Pulisic against Mexico was a cross. We had Pepe scored twice against Jamaica off of crosses from that right side. Weah's provided a lot of service that is very quality service. And so I feel like, to me, he's our best opportunity to make something happen. And if you are playing a guy like Josh Sargent, who is a little bit more attack minded in the penalty area, that's just another guy for him to hit with a cross. So I think our style of play lends itself to Weah being the most best assister for this tournament. Who is most likely to use this tournament to get the biggest move after it?
Biggest move. I mean, how you define biggest move, I guess.
That is a subjective that you get to determine.
So, I mean, I think Pulisic speaks for himself. I think he's going to get moved either way.
That's fair.
But a player that's I'm not sure they get moved after the World Cup so much, but Sargent, he could have a great tournament.
If Sargent gets 2 goals during this group stage.
Yeah, Musa, he's already being rumored.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that's a fair answer, because it's already being rumored, but I think he may be the answer on that, when you think about really where the players are that are going to be playing out there. I mean, if any of these strikers gets hot, if Ferreira gets hot for some reason, I can see that.
Yeah.
That's a no-brainer. I mean, he get picked up very quickly. From that perspective, I don't see any. I don't see Zimmerman moving.
Zimmerman is 2 years too old for that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean that sincerely. I think if he were 27, it would happen, but not at touching 30.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna say Musa.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe De La Torre if he gets get some chance off the bench type of thing. I mean, I think there's some opportunities here. It's again, it's all about what who gets in there and plays in those moments and makes the most of them. But yeah. So it's not a clear answer on that, but I think we could, I think Musa's probably the one, of course.
So I think for me, the problem that I run into is a lot of the guys are already at pretty big clubs, right? You could say Gio Reyna, but Gio Reyna's he's already at Borussia Dortmund. That's a pretty darn big club. The move up would be major, and obviously would cost a lot of money. But would that be that if he goes from Dortmund to just, for example, PSG? Yeah, that's a big step up, but that's not wow type of move. You know what I'm saying? That's it's a normal type of a move. Does that make sense? I don't know. If
I see. I think Gio's just it's just a matter of time where he's
also that
he's 20. He just turned 20 years old, so it's he's I think there's already eyes on him anyway, and so
Yeah.
all this is going to do is going to increase his stock. So it's not about it's a combination of not so much the transfer, but how much that transfer
Right.
is for these players, and that's where the difference is. And so we've seen some epic ones, come out of these players playing in the World Cups. And that's kind of
Right.
what that stage is for some of these younger players, is to be able to make that first big contract and start playing, on a, and playing on a team consistently. And so, and I think for Gio, that's, in his near future anyway, but he could just get more money at the end of the day.
I do think that if you're looking at a guy who possibly could get himself a good move, and he's already in a big league, playing well in a big league, but I think Anthony Robinson, if he has a good tournament, could find himself, I think, still staying in England, but it might cement one of the big 6 clubs going, oh yeah, we probably need to get that dude, because he offers a lot of things that coaches will like. He works hard, he's very athletic, very fast, and I think if he has a solid tournament, the problem would be if he goes to like a Liverpool or Man City or any of those, like he wouldn't be starting necessarily, but that would be a big move for him going from Fulham to one of the top 4 clubs in Europe. I think that could be an interesting move for him. But like outside of Musa, I think Musa is like the most obvious answer, because one, he already kind of has rumors linked to him. He's at a club that is not as big, but still like at a good level where like, oh, people have already been looking at him. So anything above that will be a big move for him and probably net him a nice payday, which is really all we want for these guys, is to, have fun playing soccer and get paid.
Absolutely.
Okay, so outside of our general idea that we think that we're making the round of 16, we get out of the group, what is a very specific prediction you have for this U.S. men's national team in the 2022 FIFA World Cup?
As far as results, as far as
a single thing or a stat or an event that will happen, what is your, just you think this is for sure going to happen?
Oh, jeez. I think for sure that's going to happen. That's a
it's outside of an actual result. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I think they're going to. This is a bold prediction. I think they're going to score more goals than people realize. I think they're going to score, because you look at
what's your over under for goals scored out of the 3 games
in the group stage? So over under, you got to get 5.5. I would say
you're thinking 5.5. Really? Okay. I think that's tough to beat. Like when you have Wales and Iran, who are likely to not want to have to. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I'm not disagreeing with 5.5. I just don't know if we go over that.
Maybe 4.5. I mean, 4.5 or 5.5. It's in that range there, because maybe it's 4.5 is the over under on that, because I think if they score 5 goals in the group stage, I think they get out. You know what I mean? I think.
I 100% agree.
Yeah, I think they get out, because I mean their defense is decent, and I think they can lock it down when they need to, but you can't. You've got to get the goals first to be able to kind of lock everything down, later in the match. And I think they've got the people to come in, bring in, CCV in, to do that. So I'm going to say they're going to score more goals than we're anticipating in this, in the group stage.
So you're going to go with 5 or more goals?
I say 5 or more
solid
goals.
One. Yeah, I think you know what? I think you're onto something, because I'll be real honest. I don't know if we score against England, or if we do, we get like 1, right? So I'm not trying to. I don't think we score a whole lot, but like if we find that combination against Wales or Iran, I think we have the talent to exploit it over and over again. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's as simple as we get Weah running at a defender at the back line and he gets a cross in, if we can run that a few times, if it's an overlapping Anthony Robinson type thing, like I think we have the talent to exploit Iran and Wales if we can find that weakness. So that might result in a few goals in those games.
What I'm saying, they should, in my opinion, they should be scored. They need to score 2 goals against Wales and Iran. They need to. Like they got
to score at least 1.
Right. They got to score at least. They've got to score at least 2. And so, and that leaves that 1 goal against England, which I think it's possible. Even if you happen to lose that game, I think that's still possible.
I think it's more likely we lose. 2-1 to England, then it's scoreless. Like that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how that England US game's in scoreless, to be quite honest. But I could see
Yeah,
like a
that'd
Wales
be
game
that'd be
being scoreless.
surprising. I mean, you probably saw someone predicted, was it Wayne Rooney predicted England wins 4-0?
4-0. Yeah. Well, he's
Yeah,
just being Wayne Rooney. I don't have a
yeah,
problem with that, you know.
yeah. No, I don't have a problem with it either. I mean, it's just and he may be right. I mean, who knows? But it's 4-0 is still that's
There's a
that's
lot
a
of
thing.
goals.
That's a
Yeah.
lot of goals. In general. So
Yeah.
at a World Cup.
My very specific prediction is that we score exactly 1 goal from a set piece.
Wow. I mean, that's the thing. The set piece is huge.
Yeah. I know we have Reyna and Aronson who do take set pieces. Aronson takes corner kicks for leads, and Reyna has the ability to take corner kicks and other set piece opportunities. But man, we did not do well off of set pieces in qualifying.
They were so horrible. They had moments where they had good ones, but they were so horrible. Like Pulisic was terrible taking those corners. Like, that was the piece we didn't have, and that's why I wonder if Aronson. I think you almost need to start Aronson or Reyna or both of them, but just from a set piece component, like you can't miss that opportunity, and they're both decent at it.
Especially if you have Walker Zimmerman on the field, and we'll just pretend Aaron Long is on the field. Those are 2 very good aerial threats in the box. They've proven it throughout their careers. But even Reyna with a chance to hit a free kick anywhere within 30 yards, I fancy him to score a goal like that, but I just don't know if we get enough of those opportunities,
Yeah, that'll be interesting. And so those are some of the stats I'd love to have in general that are harder to find with like the World Cup.
Yeah.
Like how, are we seeing more or less set pieces? Are we seeing more or less penalty kicks, being given, tournament to tournament in general? Because I think, I think they want to let them play more probably, but I'm frustrated. I want the rules to be the rules. If it's a foul, in the defensive third, it should be a foul in the offensive third.
I'm curious how VAR will correct that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because like in theory, at least speaking from a referee's point of view, I'm more willing to not call a penalty if I'm not like, oh yeah, that's definitely a foul, that's definitely a penalty type of thing. But with VAR, it's very easy to go, no, he fouled him right there. That's a foul. You can't then be like, well, it's not a penalty. It's like, no, it was a foul. Therefore,
well, that's the thing though. It's that consistency.
Yeah.
And so I watched a lot of youth and high school soccer this year, and my problem with the refereeing was the consistency between the teams, and that's all I want. It can be consistently bad for everyone, or consistently good for everybody. It can't be, one-sided in terms of that, and that's all I want is consistency with that. And again, as fans, you get a little bit more like into it. Oh, it's our, that was a foul, whatever it was, but it's that consistency, and that's what I think. And I don't know how that works with VAR. I mean, did they side on the caution ball? VAR will pick it up if I miss it. I don't know how that meant. I don't know if it's been around long enough for them to be able to, kind of set a standard of, when it's reviewed and how that works.
That's fair. Moving to the bigger picture, the tournament as a whole, who's your winner?
I think Brazil. I think Brazil wins it. I don't want them to win it, but I think they're going to. I think they're stacked along the way. I mean,
they're deep.
Yeah, I don't want them to win it. I just don't. But and I've been pretty good at predicting the winners of the World Cups, and I can keep my biases out of it for the most part.
Which is more likely to happen, a new winner or a repeat winner?
It's a repeat winner. The new winner options would be what? Belgium, Portugal, maybe. You know what I mean? Like,
who knows what they're going to be like with Ronaldo's craziness right now?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I think Belgium is probably the team that could do it. The real question is, who would you pick as a winner that's not a South American or European Confederation team?
I don't think there's one. I don't think.
Yeah, but if you had to pick one though, I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's
the U.S. or Mexico.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Like,
I mean,
I don't think that there's maybe. Well, Senegal doesn't have Mane.
Yeah, if Senegal had Mane, I might have gone with them.
When I made my original predictions, I had Senegal going to the quarters because I Sadio Mane. But now I have to go back and change all this because I had France in my final against Brazil, but now with no Karim Benzema.
Oh, that's right. Oh, that's
But
right.
yeah,
And Brazil's still France is still stacked though. So it's
what about here's my sleeper pick. What about Japan?
I was thinking about them. I was thinking about them. It's gonna. I mean, they're always sneaky good. You know what I mean? Like their tactics are.
Yeah,
They're tough to defend at times. They're sneaky good. Their keeper's very good too.
yeah. I don't see any African teams making a real run outside of what Senegal I thought would be, and I don't think they're going to be able to do it now. I do think the U.S. and Mexico both get through their groups, so I think that would be like obvious of they might. But
Oh, you think Mexico gets through? Interesting.
yeah, I do. I don't think they beat Argentina, but I think they can beat Poland, and I forget the other team in their group.
Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I think they beat Saudi Arabia. But yeah, that Poland Mexico game it's
gonna be big.
Yeah, it's the first game of the that they play, so it's gonna set the table really for that. So
no, I think they get through. I do.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean I don't know, that Mexico team is older in a lot of ways. They won they finished second there in the CONCACAF. They didn't overly impress me. This group hasn't overly impressed me in general. I mean, that's it's not one of their better teams I think they put together. But that being said, they could very much surprise people. But I don't know. There's more turmoil. I'm actually surprised Tata Martino didn't get canned, several times, after losing to the U.S. three times in 1 year. You're like, and maybe that's where that stability is, because a lot of times they just wouldn't have that. I mean, you'd see them dump managers after the World, Gold Cup or other tournaments. I mean, if you look back at their manager history, it's all over the place. They brought the same guys back multiple times, and they've dumped guys, before World Cup qualifying, after World Cup qualifying. It's a interesting dynamic that they've had there, and they're pretty consistent in general, in these World Cups. Either they just make it or miss it. So
I don't know. I mean, I think Mexico can get out. That's just all. I think that they are good enough to do that. That's just my point. All right. So we both have said that we think Brazil's winning. I think that's a pretty. I said France. Now I'm not quite sure who my finalist would be. I'm still leaning toward that. The problem is England's on that same side as France, right? And I don't think England makes a final. So I don't really know who my finalist is now, because I've kind of looked at it all. And maybe Netherlands, maybe. I don't know. No, they would have to go through Brazil.
That's the thing. I mean, Argentina and Brazil on the same. Obviously, if they both finish, in their tops in their groups, they're both on the same side of the, the bracket there. So I think, because I had Belgium going a little bit of ways. I'm trying to bring up my.
If Portugal wins their group, which is a big if, that means to me that everything's going well. I could see them in the final, because they would be going off against I have like Cameroon, Croatia, whoever doesn't win the Spain, Germany, Japan group. And then they would have to face France or whomever, maybe England in that semifinal. So I think maybe if Portugal's doing the things that Portugal we know they can do, and not sunken by the turmoil of Cristiano Ronaldo, I could see them in the final. But I don't think they're better than Brazil by a long shot.
Nah, they've got a tough group, and I don't. Yeah, all the paths can be tough. I don't know. I actually have Germany going to semifinals right now.
That's my next question, because who's your surprise of the tournament?
I think it's Germany, only because they've just been so poor in form.
See, that's my surprise, is they don't make it out.
Maybe that's the surprise. But I think my surprise is they actually make a run, because it's
they've been bad.
They've been terrible. I mean, they got through qualifying, but and they've had a manager change from a long time successful manager, and I don't know, maybe it's the lore of Germany just always being a mainstay in the tournament. So it's that weird, and that's the thing. Who's the team that and maybe Germany's obviously your answer, but who's the team that the big name country team that doesn't get through the knockout stage? Because there's usually one in every tournament that
Yeah,
doesn't get through.
I think it's Germany. I really do. Also because they're in a group with Spain and Japan, and those are two pretty good teams as it is. So I just think getting through that group might be hard for all three of those. But I think Germany is the one that I'm picking. That's kind of my I don't know. So I'm knocking them out.
Yeah, See, now you'll be guessing. I gotta. Yeah,
I know.
I'll probably keep what I have here.
Who's your dark horse then? Is Germany your dark horse, or do you have someone else who's kind of more the? Let's put it this way: dark horse is a team who has not won the tournament, making it to at least the semifinal.
Oh, at least the semifinal.
Yeah, let's go with semifinal. If you really want to do quarter, we'll do that. But let's who you think can make the semi? Who hasn't won?
I mean, Denmark. Denmark. I think Denmark.
Yeah.
I think Denmark is maybe a sleeper. In some respects, I think that there's a great story there with Eriksson, obviously. His situation. I think I'm correct in saying that.
Denmark plays Argentina. I think if all things go the way they should. Germany. Oh, hold on. What is going on with all this stuff? My computer is yelling at me. Okay, there we go. What is going on? Hello?
I'm here.
There you go. Okay. My microphone, they were like, USB not recognized. I'm like, what did I do? Yeah, I think that Denmark, they play Argentina in that first, what I think would be, the first knockout round game. If they get by Argentina, yeah, that's a pretty good shout.
Yeah, and I would be remiss to not bring up Canada, because only just because it's the first time in the World Cup in forever. I mean, if we're talking about sleeper teams, I mean Canada, if they get out of the group stage, and it's probably one of the more balanced groups when you look at that.
That's fair.
You know what I mean? It's a balanced group because I'll be honest with you, you could put any two teams at the top of that, and I'm not going to be overly shocked.
I would be shocked if Canada gets out of that group. I'll be real honest. I think that they way outperformed any of the underlying metrics of the qualifying phase. I mean, we saw them. They outperformed XG both for and against. They relied on teams being just not that good against defending counterattacks. I just have to. I mean, Belgium obviously we know they're susceptible to giving up stupid goals, but I don't think that they're going to have as many counterattack opportunities against Belgium.
Yeah, I just wonder if Belgium's too old. I just wonder if Belgium's team is,
this is their last chance,
right?
For sure.
With this group, for sure. And I just, and I think their best chance was honestly in the last World Cup.
Yeah, and honestly, their best chance may have been a Euro in either 2016 or 2020, but that obviously didn't go either. So.
Yeah, so it's one of the more balanced groups. It's probably the one that'll be the more interesting one to watch. Watch any of the games in general. I think they'll all be pretty competitive. There's no real.
I do like that. I like that Denmark shout as a dark horse. They played really well in Euro 2 summers ago. Mine is still Japan, but I don't think they make the semis. I think a quarterfinal run is going to be good for them, and I think the dark horse would be getting out of the group against Spain and Germany and then winning a knockout round game. I think that would be a pretty big deal for them. The theme seems to be the teams who have already won the tournament are the ones who are most likely, in our opinions, to go pretty far in the tournament.
Right, and I think that's just a typical. You're gonna pick the favorite because of their success in the past tournaments in general. Like they know what to expect, as a nation, as an organization, because they've been doing it for so long. And so the thing is that you look at if you can get through that round of 16 game, like at that point for those sorts of teams that haven't been there, I mean, that's gravy at that point. You know what I mean? If you're getting to the quarterfinals, I mean, embrace it. You're probably not going to win the next game, but anything's possible. And so that's the thing. The 2002 World Cup, if you look at the teams the diversity of Confederation teams that made it to the knockout stage, and even I think even until that quarterfinal round, it was the most diverse of any recent World Cup in terms of the teams, the balance between confederations. Like,
Yes.
Most of them, are always Europe, South America, with maybe one team from each of the other confederations. That year, I mean, you had, Japan and South Korea and US. I mean, you had so many different teams advancing far into that tournament, which made it, in my opinion, probably one of the best tournaments, not necessarily because of what the US did, but just as a whole of, the unexpected results. I mean, obviously the end result was not really surprising. I mean, you're gonna get, Turkey made it to the semifinals, South Korea made it to the
Yep.
semifinals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's impressive. I mean, Senegal was in the quarterfinals. South Korea, United States. I mean, that's impressive, to have that diversity in there. And I think that's what makes the tournaments fun.
Yeah, I'm trying to think because like 2002 was a little weird because obviously you had Korea, Japan, right? A dual host thing. It was the first time it was in Asia, all those things. 2010 though, it was you had Spain, Netherlands, Germany, Uruguay, all 4 teams that were part of. It's just so hard for non-winners to make it through. It's very unlikely that a team who has not won the World Cup will A, win it, and B, go through. Spain was a surprise of 2010, but they weren't really a surprise. They're at the top of their game, and it was more of a surprise that they hadn't won before that or even made finals.
Well, that's the thing. That's really the surprising thing. And Spain had never won it before. I mean, when you think about that team, I mean, it's like, because I mean, obviously France won it for the first time in '98, I think.
Yeah.
And obviously on home soil, that's not a huge surprise for a team of that caliber to be able to finish that off. But yeah, Spain was, it's kind of. I recently had to double check that. I'm like, that's the first time they've won it. Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. Like, because I just don't think there's another nation that right now is good enough to just take that, the title at this point. I just don't think it's gonna be a repeating nation.
I mean, I think we both said that we think Brazil gets their 6th. I think that's the most likely outcome. But as we've also learned with World Cup, sometimes the likely outcome doesn't happen. But I think the likely outcome is a team gets to add another star. They're not adding a new star. It's just, another star goes atop that crest. All right, last question. What's your starting 11 for USA versus Wales?
What I want to see or what Greg's going to do? I can do both. There's a small variation.
How about you do a mix of both, right? Like do what you want Greg to do.
Okay.
Let's put it that way.
Because that's what I want Greg to do. So Turner's my starter. I'm assuming everyone's healthy, so I'm going to go Dest.
Yeah, assume everyone's healthy, but you can also assume that like maybe not everyone's fully healthy if you want to.
Because that's kind of where it varies for me. And so this is so it's be Turner in the back, Dest right, Zimmerman. I'm going to go Ream. I just can't stand long. I'll take that risk. Aaron Robinson, Adams, Musa. I'm going to go Aronson because I don't think McKennie is fully fit. And when he is, he's just not great on the ball. This is where I struggle with it because I don't know if I go with Reyna or Weah on the right wing. And I'm going to go Weah on that. Sargent and Pulisic. And I think Adams, I would, before the announcement came later today, that Adams is likely to be the captain. That's who I would have picked as a captain, who I wanted as a captain.
Adams is my captain. 100%. I think you and I may have talked about this. I think Pulisic doesn't need to be captain. He already has a lot of weight on his shoulders. Let Tyler Adams be the captain. I think a lot of people look up to him as it is. My starting 11 is the same. I think that you start Brendan Aronson, especially against a Wales team that I think Aronson would be very useful if you can counter press Wales immediately. You know what I'm saying? Like before they have the chance to get 1 or 2 passes and then go long, because they're not going to like just lump it long. That's not how teams do it necessarily nowadays. They're going to need to get a pass or 2 off. So if you can counter press to win that ball back, that's where Aronson can win you games. But also as an attacking midfielder, I think that makes a lot more sense against Wales. Someone who can work just underneath that striker and pair a little bit better. especially because I think that gives Pulisic a little bit more freedom to tuck inside because there's more space instead of having an attacking midfielder up against him. If it's just more of a lone attacker, I think that's the way to go. So mine's the same. Turner, Dest. I'm going to go Zimmerman, Ream, Robinson, Adams, Musa, Aronson, and then you have Weah, Sargent, Pulisic.
Yeah, I mean, you could, flip Musa and McKinney too. I mean, I
like Musa better because I think he would be better to do the kind of double pivot.
Yeah,
position.
well, I think he plays that better.
Yeah.
And he's done it before too.
Yeah, I also think if I'm trying to break down what I expect to be a lower block, slash a team that does press in the midfield a lot, or press, I shouldn't say press in the midfield, press at the midfield confrontation line. I think Musa is better equipped to handle that. The only other thing I could think of is maybe Dest doesn't start because we're a little unsure of his actual fitness. But I would rather Dest start and go only the 60 minutes he can. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because he did pretty well in his last match with.
Yeah,
I thought he showed pretty well. He was, I think he's just dealing with something mild, but I don't think he plays the full 90 by any means. I mean, I actually think Shaq Moore might actually get the sub on it, honestly, over Yedlin.
Yeah. I think you might see Moore or you might see Scally start this game, but I think
Scally. I keep getting
Greg trusts more, but he trusts more. I still think Joe Scally's starting week in and week out for a.
That's a good. Yeah, I
team. I don't know.
Scally's going. Yeah, Scally's going under my radar a little bit on that.
I think he's going under a radar because he's under Greg's radar. I just hope Greg picks the best 11 players. That's all I want from him. Pick the best.
It's hard though. You say the best 11, but I'm not sure I picked the best 11 necessarily.
No, I think that's fair. But I think Greg gets cute with his lineups about, I like this guy because he does this one thing well without looking at the bigger picture of.
Well, you can't do that.
This guy,
I mean, I think the set pieces you still have to think about, and that's why I was tested on Weah and Reyna, and so that's where Aronson comes in.
But if you have Aronson, if you have Aronson and Pulisic, I think that's enough. Aronson can deliver a corner kick, and that's fine. All right, well, let's wrap this up. We'll be back to talk about the U.S.-Wales match and then looking forward to that England matchup next Friday. Thomas, where can we follow your work?
U.S. Keeper is my Twitter feed. I mentioned on the last podcast, I have a few. I haven't done anything recently, probably won't. I had a few things on Chasing the Cup website. And so I don't, I have a couple things kind of going, but I'm too focused on the World Cup right now. I will plug something that I've been working on since 2017, which is basically a look at the dark decades of U.S. soccer, where just like they just were terrible from like the 50s to like the early 80s. And so it's like a 3-piece series I've been working on slowly. Okay. I always get derailed because I get down rabbit holes of history, and so it takes me down a different path. So I haven't revisited, but that may be something I roll out sometime early in this, the next cycle. So.
Okay. I look forward to seeing that. Again, thanks for being on here. Appreciate your perspective and look forward to talking with you more throughout the tournament.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. And let's go USA.
I know. Let's just get a result against Wales. Don't forget to follow the show at Soccer for Us Pod. And if you want to support the show, go to buymeacoffee.com/soccerforuspod and subscribe to Soccer Down Here so you don't miss any of the coverage that we will be having throughout the tournament. Again, thanks for listening. Thomas, thanks for joining me. Everyone else, I'm out.